team in the world, we are known. As we follow on, we are the people through and through, the bold and blue, since 1870.
Good afternoon all, and welcome to Bold and Blue 1872. I hope we're all having a good week. It is a little bit later in the week than we normally get going. I was off on my travels looking at wedding venues, Jack. Can I just say, for anybody that is interested in looking at wedding venues, just let your wife do it, or your wife-to-be do it. What a waste of time it was me being there. But got back yesterday and raring to go. I obviously I'm a lot happier this week than I was last week. I am today joined by my good friend Jack and co-host. Good friend and co-host Jack. Jack, how are you getting on, mate?
I'm not bad, mate, and I'll just second what you said there. After being married for about 7 or 8 years, I can't even remember the venue selecting. So I just told her, on you go. How much is it going to cost?
Mate,
but
if ever there was a definition of spare prick, that's exactly what I was the weekend there, man.
Yes, after the weekend, and obviously last week it wasn't feeling so great during the week, but we're getting there.
Yeah, we are, mate. We'll talk about it in more detail. Good afternoon, Aldo. How's things, mate? New man to the show, I think, number one Orange Man. Welcome. Baz, how you getting on? And yes, Baz, I know, mate. It's going through my mind. I've been with my missus. I've said this before, but 18 years it's took me to get to this stage, so I'm going to have to bite the bullet at some point, Baz. Yes, formalities out the way, please. We'll get that done first. If you could give the channel a like and a subscribe, if you are enjoying the content, of course, we will do our best to earn that like and that subscribe. But if you are forgetting to do so, then please make sure you do it before you leave. I don't know, Baz. I don't know. Is it? Is it, mate? But yeah, as always, if you do want to become a member of the show, as announced a number of weeks ago, if you become a member of the Bold and Blue podcast, all of your proceeds or the processes of those proceeds will go to Rangers Charity Foundation. So if you do want to donate to a good cause, do become a member of this channel. That includes super chats as well. So what we're doing this month as well, by the end of August, early September, for anyone that becomes a member, we will draw the names out of the hat of the members that have joined Bold and Blue 1872, and you can win yourself the latest Rangers home kit, a large men's size. Jack, right, let's get into it, mate. Good result of the weekend, obviously, which is gives us something more positive to talk about. I know the other pods have done this to death at this point, so we won't spend too much time on it, but certainly gives us something a lot more positive to leverage off in the build up for the Conference League game. Some new signings that have come in and made an immediate impact. We'll talk about that. Some new signings that have come today or have been announced today. And another one that is potentially, another one or two that are potentially on their way, or certainly we're in discussions with the clubs with them. Let's start with just a quick summary on the St Mirren game, mate. What did you make of it overall? I'll get your thoughts first before I chime in, but I'll just kind of lead with what a fucking difference one player can make. That was my kind of overall summary of it. What did you make of the weekend, mate?
So first and foremost, happy to score more goals. There was a bit of chat before it about St Mirren playing well. They could come and play us off the park and all that stuff. I'd seen some of that kind of rhetoric floating around, but nonetheless, like you said, one player can make such a difference. And the sad thing is, it's something that should have probably been done a lot sooner in terms of that said player. But just the finish from Dragojevic was just unreal. It was just much better all round. I still have concerns about, some of the kind of gaps and transitions and maybe some of the kind of defensive frailties and what we were giving up in terms of chances. But much better overall. So absolutely delighted on the back of it.
Yeah, I mean, St Mirren are, I mean, we don't call them St Boo for nothing, right? They can cause us problems. They were coming into the game with in decent form as well. They'd won their first 2 games in the league, so I was anxious going into it. I'm always expecting us to beat teams like St Mirren, as should any Rangers fan, and we'll talk about that in more detail when we get to Jablonec and the Europa result as well. But yeah, they can pose us problems as they've shown in the past. That they're obviously under new management now, and but yeah, on form they were coming in, posing a decent challenge for us, and we handled it really well. I thought James Penrice, like I said, what a difference one player can make. If that's anything to go by, if we get another couple of players in those key positions that we've been crying out for, and we get the right player, which I think everyone and every man and their dog for the last season has been saying James Penrice was the right player to bring in there. For whatever reason it's taken till now for Rangers. Just on the details of that as well, Penrice is a loan deal with a $2 million option. I'm a little bit sceptical about where this goes. I know Tour Romans is a few years younger than Penrice. Penrice is no spring chicken himself, but he's certainly not old. But he's getting on into his 20s now. He's not a young lad anymore. Tour Romans, some interest reported over in Belgium for him. Whether or not that's accurate or not, Tour Romans I think is a very valuable asset. But there's also the whole Ashton Scally thing in terms of the club have made it quite clear they want to present an avenue for Scally to get into the first team and progress. Whether or not Penrice is a long-term proposition, if he keeps performing like that, Jack, I think he makes himself inevitable. Do you know what I mean? What a performance from Penrice, mate.
I know he was really good, and do you know what? He just looked like he just fitted right in there. Do you know what I mean? Like he's obviously came, he's not had much time to spend around, but he just looked like he'd played there the last 3 or 4 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of from a new player's perspective, looked like he'd settled. I mean, you'd expect him to having played before in Scotland, but just the fact that he just came in and just made a difference. Like you talk about some of his deliveries. Even I think it's for the Gassama goal, he rolls the ball in, and it's just like, the amount of times you go, right, pass the ball, and you see players, they don't do it, they don't see it, and it was just perfect, but it was simple, but it's so perfect. So he definitely made a difference. The thing is, like you said, Tour Romans might or probably does have the higher ceiling in terms of, like developing a player, selling them on, etc. But at the end of the day, he's not going to do that if he's injured, or he keeps having this terrible injury history. So I mean, you can see where that one goes. I mean, like he's more than capable, Penrice, but it's like how you balance that with Rangers fans going, well, we want to keep him, he's played really well, etc. If that's how the season goes, versus Ashton Scally, because you want to have that pathway, you want to have the players to be able to come in. But and I've just seen what Baz has said there. It is healthy competition for Romans, because I think knowing that he's probably undoubtedly like the first pick left back without anybody else being there, it's going to push him on a bit as well. So we'll see where it goes, but absolutely, fantastic, man. Just what a difference.
He just did everything. It was so simple.
Yep.
He just made the right pass, as you would expect a professional footballer to be able to see, have a bit of vision, play a through ball when it's available to you. Just stuff that I've been crying out for from numerous Rangers players. We seem to overcomplicate it. Penrice just seems to straight away just, that's the right pass to make. I'll make it. It's so simple. CJ, I just wanted to pull this up. Bluebell's Bar is one of my favourite Rangers bars on the planet, by the way. Anybody that's never been to Lanzarote, even if you've been there, you've never been to Bluebell's Bar, shout out to Bluebell's Bar. It's a great little spot. Right. Take a bow, Drago. Yes, what a goal. And can I just say, that commentator, who will remain nameless, I'm not going to even give him the time of day, who equalled the St Mirren second goal to this strike from Drago, is off his nut. the technique involved in what Drago did with that goal is at multiple levels away from just smashing a strike on the ground. One of the better goals I've seen at any Rangers player score, dare I say. Maybe not in terms of, it's not up there in terms of the occasion. It's a league game against St Mirren at home. Fair enough. But in terms of like technique and just an absolute screamer, mate, what did you make of Drago's goal?
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll be honest, right? So I was watching the game, and do you know what I mean? I was like, right, free kick. I turned away for 2 minutes because I seen it getting cleared and all that. And then I literally turned back. I just seen him just coming right off his foot, and I was like, oh my God, what a goal. Like, you know, but I think there's an important distinction what you made there. Yes, it's not the occasion. Yes, it's not a, you know, it's a 91st minute winner against Celtic in the Scottish Cup, or, you know, it's not a league winning goal. But what I will say is, if you look at the context of Ibrox, you look in the context of what had happened the other night in terms of where the fan kind of feeling was at and the temperature, he's went, I'm going to take this on, you know, which I like. I like that. A bit of confidence. He could have played it safe. He could have, you know, taken it back, recycled the ball, but he just went, no, I'm hitting it. And you know what? Like, he had it, and obviously he scored. But if he didn't score, like, I'd be like, right, okay. But, you know, I'd still be more encouraged by that. And just like Aldo has said, happy to see that players are actually shooting. Like, I genuinely feel over the last couple of years, like, you just don't get that same kind of, let's take a dig from the edge of the box.
Yeah. I noticed that when he came on against, when he started at right back against, was it Hibs, wasn't it? He started at right back. But when he was kind of pushing forward, he did have a couple of cracks as well. He doesn't seem shy of having a crack for what we were told was a kind of defensive six. He certainly seems to be more of a kind of box-to-box player from what I've seen of him. And is Drago that missing link that we've been crying out for years? That player that's going to shoot on strike, shoot on sight, capable of scoring a screamer. Time will tell. 20 years old, mate. Do you know what I mean? He's. I know 20s. He's a man, but you look at some of the players that we're sending out on loan. They're 19 and they're 20, and we're still hoping that they'll flourish at a later age. Do you know what I mean? Or they'll flourish in the next couple of years. Drago's already shown he's a very accomplished player. I really, really like the look of this boy, Jack. I think he's a top talent. Maybe playing him at right back is not where we should be playing him. I think he's definitely offers a hell of a lot more. So hopefully we never see that again. But I think his overall performance. So Penrice obviously stole the show in terms of his overall performance, but I thought Drago was excellent. I didn't think there was many that day. Maybe I don't want to get on this boy's back because I know a lot of fans have been, but Manny Fernandez again a couple of times. I was my head in my hands, just like, what are you doing, son? I don't know what the answer is there. We'll talk about the European squad in a moment. It looks like Godfrey isn't far away from being back in contention. That was pretty much the only negative I took from that game, mate. Is Manny Fernandez becoming a bit of a liability at this point, dare I say? That's 4 goals that we've conceded, and he's had a hand in every one of them.
At this minute, I'd say he is, and I'll be honest, if there was another, I don't want to say just fit centre-back, because obviously you've got players who are there who John Suter, but let's forget that he's out the picture, and so is Clinton Ciala, for example. But, like, he wouldn't be in that squad. If Godfrey was fit, he wouldn't be starting. That's what my opinion is at the minute, because I just think he needs to be taken out. I don't think McInnes has not seen that and went, you know, but what option has he got? You know, and then you're kind of backing that up with, you know, I'm playing terrible, but yeah, I'm still being picked, sort of thing. Like, you know, I think sometimes there's an element of, like, where it's subconscious, not that he knows that he's going to get picked regardless of these mistakes at this moment in time. So I think if Godfrey's fit, then he drops him, because he's just not at the races at all at the minute. And that's the most disappointing thing. Yeah, he's got this kind of language style, and he does take risks with the ball, right? And I did quite like that about him last season, I have to admit. But he just doesn't seem, you know, I don't think might say he doesn't seem interested. He just doesn't seem switched on. Like, he's just totally not get out of that, you know, summer holiday, you know, level yet. He's just not at the races. So I would be dropping him at the minute.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is with him. I'm a fan of Fernandes, but some of that stuff, I like it when he pulls it off. It looks great, you know what I mean? But he's doing it too often. It's almost a given that he's going to try and pirouette around a player whenever he's got someone close to him, or surely he must realise that becomes predictable if that's your fucking go-to move every time somebody comes near you. I don't know. I hope that Dell's having a conversation with him, but yeah, it can't continue like this. He can't keep making those mistakes and putting us in those precarious situations as often as he is. Yeah, David, Penrice's interview gives me hope for the season. His attitude is spot on. I loved Penrice's interview. I loved his when he signed his interview. I loved his post-match interview when he was on telly talking about it. Behind the scenes interview, all that stuff. And again, we're going to talk a little bit about the latest signing. I'm going to call him Kosta because I'm not going to butcher his surname, but he's given his initial statement as well, saying that he had a conversation with the manager and there was no other option. This is the club that he wanted to come to. Do you know what I mean? I think that we're seeing certainly. I know it's just words and actions speak a lot louder than words, but I think we're seeing players coming to Rangers right now who have a real desire. You heard McCanny's interview a number of weeks ago as well. Godfrey's interview when he came in. I don't remember us signing so many players where they're kind of getting me pander. I spoke about that in one of our pods before, Jack, where he got me buzzing just by the words that he was saying, that they were so enthusiastic to be at Rangers. Am I looking too much into that, Jack, or do you think we're actually? Does it feel like we're signing players that really want to be here? That maybe I was. Am I making too much of it? I don't know. Am I? What do you think?
Well, I like that kind of language, but I think just on the basis of the last few years, or many years, that I'm taking that with a massive pinch of salt at the minute. But what I would say is, it is a change in terms of like this kind of line about that was only the thing I wanted, the only club, the only option, etc. Like Penrice, for example, was the ideal one. And you just knew that's what he meant and that's what he wanted. So maybe it's because, but we know his history, etc., a bit more compared to these other guys, which you don't really know. But you can't say it's certainly not a bad thing. I just want to see it on the pitch before I'm like, right, okay.
Yeah, again, actions do speak louder than words. Maybe I'm making too much of it, but as a fan, I like to hear that. That gets me invested in that player more. We love to see our own coming through. I mean, Penrice is technically one of our own. Hasn't come through the ranks, but he's one of us in terms of being a boyhood supporter of the club. I can only assume the feeling that he had the other day there was euphoric, to come and make a debut like that. Last question on Penrice before I get to Baz's comment here. Is that one of the best debuts you've seen from a Rangers player in the last 10 years? Is it the best?
I'm going to say it's one of the best, but that's purely because I can't think of a better one. So then my argument would be that kind of has to be the best one, but I'm sure I could maybe find another one in there. But I mean, I just thought that feeling of how good it was to see a player making his debut and just totally just take to it and make an impact like that has felt lacking a lot.
Yeah, maybe I've got recency bias, but I think it's up there. Certainly in the last certainly since Stevie G's era, I can't remember a debut being that impactful. Again, St Mirren at home in the league, not a do or die game, or was it? Maybe you could argue it is, given the run of results that Dell was overseeing. We needed that win. It was quite critical. I do agree, Baz. Do you know that I was thinking about this a lot, and I think Baz makes a good comment here in terms of the accuracy combined with the desire, determination to deliver that goal. The celebration was epic, a much needed moment for the supporters, especially inside Ibrox. I think we needed that more than anything. Not necessarily as much. The result is one thing, a very compelling result as well. A 5-1 win at St Mirren. Was it really in doubt? You know, I was a little bit unsure when they got there, when we were 2 up and they scored. I was a little bit like, here we go. But we grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. All of them were like some of the players that we've been criticising, the likes of Gassama. I thought he was excellent. I thought McCanya was absolutely outstanding. I'm really excited by this boy from what we've seen of him so far. Obviously, we spoke about Penrice, the drag. We need to start calling him Dragoi, by the way. It's not Drago, it's Dragoi, apparently. So, but I think that just because of the way that some of those goals were scored, I think it got the fans off their feet and it just took it to another level of, you know, expectation and, you know, just getting people motivated and out of the doom and gloom that people have been in for a number of weeks. When you start seeing goals of that quality being scored at Ibrox and a good result, I thought it was as good a game as we could have had, and it was the exact type of result and performance that we needed, mate. Sorry, on you go.
I was just going to say, if you think about it, but you could also argue that it was important, like, you know, being like, for example, in League Cup, you lose that, you're out of cup competition. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then you look at obviously who we're playing in the next round, like, you know, and it would just kind of keep that going. So, like, yeah, it was important. I will say that. McCanya is someone I'm going to agree with you. I really like the look of McCanya as well. Like, really like the look. And the fact that he's our player, he's not someone we've loaned in, you know, where you're like, okay, I'm liking that. The one thing I did want to touch on, and I'm sure someone said earlier in the comments, but it was about the space that Rangers had to play in. So, like, someone like Gassama, I thought Gassama was fantastic the other day. But I also felt a lot of that came from the space he had to play into, essentially.
Yeah.
Which isn't a given in most domestic games. But the only thing I'll caveat that with is you look at the game against Jablonec the other week, there was still space there, and Rangers didn't perform, you know, and admirably in getting into that space. So that's the only thing I would say. I mean, if they do that against a team who's going to sit in low block football, all that kind of stuff, then, you know, it's going to go a good way for them.
Yeah. So I recognise that as well. Scott, I'll get to your comment in a second, mate. I don't mean to leave this up to shit on Shanks. We created that space, though. I thought this is exactly what I've expected from a Derek McInnes team down the flanks, and quickly getting the ball away from the defence and exploiting space when the opportunity presents itself. We spoke about that when we were talking about what we can expect from a Derek McInnes side, and that's exactly what we've seen. Albeit for the first time, in my opinion, we've seen it. Was that because Penrice was a different maker and he was able to, Penrice and Gassama, did Penrice make the difference for Gassama? I think there's a good argument to say yes, he did. He made a massive difference for Gassama. Wing backs utilising the space, a big part of that is like picking the right through ball when the opportunity presents itself, and that was in abundance at the weekend there, even on the other side as well for Sterling. I thought he was doing it with Daisuke as well. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't just on the left. We got the most out of the left, but I thought that we forced that space more so than St Mirren given, is it, Jack? That would be my only argument to it. But yeah, maybe it was more St Mirren, but that was my kind of perspective on it. On you go, Jack, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I don't really disagree with that, because I think that's a really fair point about, it's probably the first time we've seen that kind of way that, you know, a McInnes team will get the ball, get it out quickly, you know, and I think that is the first time I can honestly say I've seen that. And then you could argue that, you know, if you have got a team who's sitting back or, you know, in that low block, as we call it, you know, there are going to be options for them to counter at points, and that's where it's important to get that ball out and exploit whatever space there is. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing I would say that I hadn't seen enough of from any of the teams. Like, you know, there was no space being exploited. The only space being exploited was the space in behind Rangers over the last few weeks. So it's definitely encouraging, but I do have a bit of a thought and feeling that having a decent wing back or full back, you know, in Penrice is going to help someone like Gassama, even though he'll still be hot and cold, right? And that's a given with a lot of wingers, but I did feel that they all kind of seemed to sync up pretty well between Sterling and Daisuke, and then obviously Penrice and Kasama on the left. So that's really, really encouraging.
Yeah. Right. Scotia Scott, as mentioned here, Shanklin can get to fuck. Now, I don't align with that specific comment, but a lot of fans are questioning Shanklin's contribution so far. There has been some criticism of Shanks storming down the tunnel at the end of the game. There was some discussions about Raskin not handing over the armband when Shanks came on. Shanklin obviously didn't start the game, which I think is another issue when you've chose Shanks to be your captain. I think there was some question marks raised whether or not that was the right decision if Shanks was going to play every game, which I don't think it's clear at the moment that he will be given to start every game. We'll talk about another rumoured striker in a minute as well, who could possibly even force Shanks even further down the pecking order. Not been the best start to Shanks' career, has it, Jack? And he's coming under scrutiny. Does he just need more time? Do you align with the prospect that he's possibly trying too hard? I think he looks absolutely desperate for a goal. Obviously, he did score last week, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. I think there was a lot of he is proven to be the best striker in the SPL for a number of years, in my opinion. What's going on with Shanks, Jack? What's your opinion on him, mate?
Okay, I think there's a few things. Now, I can't say that subconsciously, you might feel a bit of that expectation and that weight, and it's boyhood club and all that, and you might be trying a little bit too hard, right? I think that's maybe a given. For me, like I'd be honest, right, and I think he could look slightly fitter. He doesn't look like he's as fit as he could be. I mean, even just some of the things like we're not denying like he can score a goal, like, but even things like his first touch and just taking the ball is just not being anywhere near what I've come to expect from him, because like we know Shanklin's a goal scorer. We know he's not going to peel away from anybody and outdo them for pace, but there's more to his game than just scoring goals. He's always been able to take the ball and has got a decent first touch, etc. But none of that's shown to be there at all. I think if he gets a goal, because you say like he's got a goal, it's a penalty, but I think something for the open play or something just to go his way, because even just some of the chances, like what is it to say, if you had no luck, what's it, you have bad luck, you have no luck, or something along those lines. I can't remember the saying, but it just does not seem to be going his way at all. And I think he will come good. I'm not concerned in that regard, but I just feel like it looks like he'd be a bit fitter. And then like you said, like the captaincy thing and him not starting, because I'll be honest, like seeing players who are the captain and then like he's starting on the bench, you kind of go, oh, like and you don't really argue with the tactical decision behind it, but it's still going, well, I've made you captain, but you're also not playing X certain games, which is kind of a strange one.
There is that argument that you can be a captain in the dressing room and maybe not necessarily be on the pitch week in, week out. So yeah, I think it's unfair to kind of rule. I don't think anybody is, to be honest with you. I don't think anyone's ruling out Shanks moving forward, but yeah, I hope he gets his head around it. Just some comments on the interviews and stuff. Baz is saying here, it's only one game for Penrice. There was enough for me to see he gets it, combined with the performance and his interview. Shows his desire to make this successful. Jim's saying some of the interviews just seem a bit desperate to do good, which is understandable, but you never know till the talking's done on the pitch. Yeah, Jim, totally agree, mate. Actions and words. Shanks is trying too hard, Jeff saying here, give him time. I hope so, mate. I hope so. There is no doubt that we're probably signed him a couple of years later than we should have. Is it a couple of years too late? That's the question. I don't think it is. CJ's aligned. Shanks will be grand. Because the current system, Baz is saying here, allows Shanks to start every game, but will be useful during the season. Doesn't allow Shanks to start every game, I should say. Yeah, I think a lot of people have been talking about delivery for Shanks and that he's been very dependable on that at other clubs. I don't know about that, because if you go back 2 seasons, Jack, Shanks was playing almost as a number 10 for Hearts. Didn't have his his best season in terms of scoring goals, but he certainly contributed to assists and goals at the same time when he was playing that role. I think a lot of people see Shanks as this kind of penalty box striker, if you want. I don't necessarily align with that. I don't know. I just think he looks unfit. I don't know if it's, and I'm not talking about his body shape. I think Shanks has that body shape.
Yeah.
It just looks like he's pulling a cart when he's out there at the moment, Jack. I don't know. Maybe, like, I made a joke on the WhatsApp channel, Jack. I was like, if I signed for Rangers, I'd be partying for a few weeks after it, right? I don't know if that's what, I'm not saying Shanks has been doing that. I'm sure he hasn't, but he definitely just looks a little bit off the pace at the moment. I'm hoping it will come good. Does Shanks require the right delivery to be successful at Rangers, Jack, or is there more to him than that?
I think there is more to him. I've said that already earlier. I think there is more to him, and you've seen I don't think Derek would be opposed to playing him like slightly further back, behind another striker or etc. So I don't disagree with that, but I think he needs to be fitter. I know we're talking about his body shape, and a lot of people going, "Oh my God, look, he's carrying so much weight," and I think he's got that kind of robust and stocky body shape. But
Yeah.
I also think he could get himself fitter. It might be like losing a little bit of weight, but he just looks like everything, sharpness, touch, it's just not all linking up. You watch him strike a penalty, and the penalty strike was as clean as anything, when you've seen him, and I'm going, right, okay, he had that back heel kind of flick that came off the post, and you're like, so he's alive to that, but I think just everything around about that is just not aligning up for him. But I do think he will score goals. I think the worst thing you can do is all jump on the bandwagon about, he's not going to do it, he's not going to cut it, etc. But I think someone made a point about the amount of chances we create for him. Like, I do think we need to be more effective at creating more chances for him as well.
Yeah, I think the overwhelming response from the guys in the chat is that Shanks will come good. I think Gio here, Gio, thanks for joining us. I'm not sure if this is your first time, but first time comment, I think. The vice captain isn't playing either. Shanks, once goes, will start going, but there's added pressure from being given the captain's role. I think there's something to that. I genuinely think, Derek McInnes had a choice to make. Who's my captain? Who's my vice captain? Both of them were coming in from the cold. They hadn't been at Rangers. Obviously, Shanks is a boyhood fan, etc. But this is new to them in terms of being captain and vice captain of Rangers. Neither have hit the ground running. I think both of them will come good personally, but maybe that's more optimism than anything. But I think the overwhelming response is that Shanks will come good. Is there anything to be said that it's just a little bit of getting used to that pressure, Jack? Like the captain and the vice captain, both of them haven't exactly hit the ground running. Is there anything behind that?
Well, you could argue, if you look at the Dan Neil situation, you could argue, I'd probably say you could argue more for him in terms of like understanding the situation, even though he's been a captain at Sunderland and there's a certain element of expectation. When I'm watching his interview and he was saying that, but it's nothing in comparison. But what I would say is that when Shankland's been made captain, he will undoubtedly know exactly what's expected at Rangers. So if he's taking that on, it's not going to be a shock to him and a surprise. I understand there's a certain magnitude behind that, but if anybody's going to understand that, it's going to be him. So I feel probably Dan Neil's more like it's more leeway, if I'm honest, like, in terms of understanding it, but it might just be that personal weight on his shoulders is what he feels behind it. But I think someone said that once one goes in, they'll follow. Yeah. I think that's very much with Shankland. Like, seen it quite a few times where Shankland's been criticised at clubs, and then before you know it, he scores one, and then one turns into 10, 20, 30 goals. So
yeah, let's hope so. Gio, I think you're my kindred spirit here. He will score goals. He has done it all his career. And his career is far from over. Definitely strikers in our team are not blessed with opportunities. At the moment, I would say there is more to him than being a number 9. I completely agree with that. And I hold a a lot of optimism for Shanks coming good. I do think that Dan Neil's actually got less of a, I don't know, I think he's getting less of an opportunity to get started from the fans purely because of this, in my opinion, ridiculous comparison to a certain other English player that was at the club last year. So I think that's unfair. I think even comparing him to any, like just the amount of players that we've got from the Championship in the last couple of years where they haven't quite worked out. Rothwell is a completely different player, a lot older. Was never the same player as what Neil is. So I just think this, you can take offence to this if you want, for anyone that's got the opinion. I think it's really lazy just to compare the two players just because they came from the Championship and they're both English. That's my opinion. So, but he seems to be getting it right in the neck. But he was quite decent when he came on the other day there, albeit only a bit part role in the game. He was only on for 30 minutes. But right, let's move on from the game. Let's talk about some of the incomings that we've had in the last couple of days and a couple that might be on their way. And then we'll have a chat about the Jablonec. Am I pronouncing that name right? Jablonec, Jack? Is that your understanding as well?
That's what I would go for, aye.
Yeah. It's funny, the comparison to that team that's just bloody put us out of the Europa, isn't it? Right. Penrice obviously on the door, makes a cracking start. 2 million with an option to buy. Loan with an option of 2 million to buy. Another one that's come in with a loan with an obligation to buy. Some other specifics around this one. He is on loan from Aston Villa, but he is also, I am completely, I've lost my page here. There you are there. It's his surname, mate. Kosta Nedeljković. Nedeljković. He's getting called Kosta from here on out. That's it, right? Kosta is signed from Aston Villa. It is a loan with an obligation, but it's based on appearances, Jack. Kosta has not, since moving on from his home country, he's been out on a couple of loans. He's had a couple of little injuries that has kind of kept him from playing as much as he would have liked. Aston Villa, we did cover this boy in detail. I mean, Aston Villa forked out about 8 million euros for this boy when he was 18 years old. He's only 20 now. The obligation is 4 million, assuming that he plays enough games for us, Jack.
Yeah.
I don't want to go over old ground because we did cover this boy in detail. Not for nothing, I did say Penrice and Kosta were the two that we were getting, but it is what it is. Kosta, mate, again, without going over old ground, I don't think he's coming in to be a first-team starter. I think he's coming in as backup to Sterling. But we know Sterling is not going to play every game, so this boy is going to get plenty of opportunity. So 2 questions. Excited for Kosta? 11 caps for Serbia, 20 years old. That speaks volumes for me. 2 questions. Excited for this boy? And second question is, what does this do for Ross McCrory?
Yes, I'm excited. You know, for all those football manager fanatics out there like myself, that's exactly that move screams like I'm going to buy that player. But in all seriousness, yeah, I mean, you move for that price, at a young age, there's something about you. Do you know what I mean? Like, and he's had, what's it, 11 caps for Serbia. So, he's already broke into the national team. So yes, I am excited. And I do think we'll get the opportunity. And, I hope it's one of those ones he comes good. We've kind of been sensible with it because obviously if he's playing well, he's going to play more, which then, puts that obligation on us to buy him, etc. But if it all goes, tits up, injuries galore, or just doesn't play well, then, we've got that out, I suppose. What does it do for Ross McCrory? I don't know what it does with Ross McCrory. Do you know what it is? It's, for me, it's kind of strange. Obviously, we've got Dujon Sterling, and Sterling's, you know what you get with Sterling, and you know what you don't get, which is not enough minutes on the pitch. But McCrory was meant to be this kind of decent backup, and kind of grown as a player since he left, but I've seen a lot of people say, you know, I've not seen what he's done since he's left us. And, you know, I don't know where it leaves him, if I'm honest, because if you want this kind of exciting, more attacking fullback, then, you know, you've got him in Kostas. So I don't know where it leaves him. And as far as I'm concerned, at the minute, it probably pushes him a lot further down the pecking order.
Yeah, he is. He does have the potential to play in a couple of different positions as well, McCrory. So he might be a useful kind of utility player. I've got a lot of empathy for McCrory. He's been carrying an injury. I think most people are aware of this. He's been playing because he has to. If we'd had more options, he probably would have been resting up and getting that injury sorted. I don't think McCrory is as bad as people are making out. I think he's still going to be an option and he's still going to have a part to play in this team. Was McCrory ever brought in to be a first team starter? I don't think he ever was. So from that perspective, a utility player, when you've obviously got Sterling with all his issues, we've just brought in another boy who, dare I say, has had some injury issues so far in his young career, Kosta that being. I don't think it spells the end for McCrory, but I sit back and I think we spoke about this the other day after the last on the last pod as well, Jack, that McCrory gets benched for Dragoi. Dragoi comes off and they bring on Curtis to play right wing back. McCrory's on the bench. He's not being brought on. Doesn't start the next game. Then we sign a right back. I wonder what it does for the boys' confidence. I don't think he's probably in a good place right now, but I hope that Dell is dealing with that. He's a good manager, isn't he, Dell? So I'm sure he's having conversations with him. He's not brought McCrory in. He's worked with McCrory quite closely in the past. He's not brought him in for no reason, but I'm excited for this boy Kosta, mate. I must say, he's very similar to Penrice. He's going to get up that wing. He's not a James Tavernier. He's not as attacking. He's from what I can find, like just kind of discussions about him. He's really good at working with a winger that likes to kind of come inside, which I think Daisuke is that kind of player. So I think those two might complement each other very well. We've already got Gassama and Penrice looking like they're complementing each other. Am I sold on Gassama? I'm still not sold on Gassama. He needs to do a hell of a lot more. Just turning up now and again is not enough for me. We're still working on some other wingers. We'll see what happens. I think this looks like a good deal in terms of that obligation only being there if this boy does a certain amount of appearances, because if he's not good enough, he won't hit that number, will he? Looking forward to this one. Very young, but again, like I said, 11 caps for Serbia. Yeah, you don't get that if you're shite. That's for sure. Couple other players. There was some rumours about this boy over in Poland who used to play with Daisuke. I'm not going to cover it. I knew it was bullshit. It was all over at X yesterday. Chris Jack confirmed it this morning. He's on a list, but he's by nowhere near a priority for us. So I'm not even going to talk about it. The two that are still doing the rounds and are, in my opinion, there's a high potential of us actually progressing with them, depending on the money. That is Kevin Kelsey. We spoke about this guy the last time as well, Jack. This is the boy over in the US, plays for the Timbers over there. I have to say, I again, go to the Facebook page if you want to do a kind of in-depth scout report that we did on this guy. I'm really excited by him, Jack. He just he looks like everything that I think we're crying out for. He can finish in the penalty area. He's good at headers, good in the air. Can track back when he needs to. Big, physical, young. A Chermiti, dare I say, a Chermiti that can actually finish. I know it's a lot of money. I think that the rumours are that we're talking about £7.5 million as a starting point. We might need to pay a bit more. Apparently, there's some other clubs that are interested in him. This boy's got a good pedigree. He was over at Shakhtar, and the only reason he left Shakhtar was because of what was going on in Ukraine at the time. It's not as if he was like shipped out because he wasn't good enough. They had high hopes for this lad. I do encourage people to go and have a look at that scout report. It's probably the longest scout report I've ever done on a player, but I think this boy warranted it. Are you excited at the prospect of bringing in another striker, Jack? Do we need another striker, and what do you make of this boy, Chelsea?
Yes, we need another striker. Now, I am going to be straight up and honest. I've not done an awful lot of looking and reading about Chelsea. I have done a little bit. I actually watched. There was a clip from, believe it or not, a Portland Timbers podcast with the two guys over there talking about it and saying that, you know, they'd be gutted to lose him is essentially what came out of it. But the only thing for me, and I'm not a total stats guy, but I'm a bit of a stats guy, and the only thing that jumps at me initially is he scored like, what is it, 50 league games, 16 goals. I think that's just league stats, give or take. I just want someone who's going to like finish and score a lot more. But I would say that his starting point is a lot more promising than where Chermity's was when we signed him. So, you know, if we're saying Chermity's good enough now, and you're looking at before he got injured about 25 million, 30 million, whatever it is we wanted for him, then this guy is clearly an upgrade in that regard in terms of the starting point. He's young, 22. I say young, he's 22, but he's still got room to grow. So yes, I would take him. I'm just cautious about how much we're going to spend on him. But you know, there's no such thing really as a cheap, you know, number 9 really. So
yeah,
if you've got to pay the money, you've got to pay the money. But I do like the fact that he is physical. He looks like a decent size. So, you know, yeah, I would definitely be excited, cautiously excited.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, the MLS is not exactly the best league in the world, but 17 appearances. I think a lot of people have been making something. He scored 8 goals in 17. Some of those were substitution appearances. The actual stat is 904 minutes, and he's contributed 8 goals and 2 assists. That's more than a goal every 90 minutes, mate. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. And if that's the kind of form that he's on right now, young, his physical attributes are off the chart, mate. He looks like a unit.
What is he? 6'4"? He's over 6 foot, isn't he?
Let me just give you his stats. He's blah blah blah. Goals 8-2, XG 6.72. Out of 4.5, aerial success 64%, pass completion 77. He gets stuck in when it comes to his defensive responsibilities as well. In terms of his physical attributes, he is 193, 6'4", left-footed, Venezuelan. What's not to like, mate?
Yeah. And he's got the 6 caps as well for Venezuela. So again,
yeah,
relatively young. He's got, you know, a handful of caps. So again, you can be encouraged by that. But yeah, I'm not against it. It just depends how it all works out, I suppose. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, that you look at a podcast and 2 supporters of their club say we do not want to lose him, says a lot for me.
Yeah. I don't want to make too much of him being in the MLS. I mean,
yeah,
but there is some fans out there that are saying that us buying directly from the MLS is not typically worked out very well for us. Who were we talking about recently? It was Macania, wasn't it? We were talking about that being the same concern from some fans.
Yeah,
Macania's hit the ground running, and this boy is not just he's not just restricted to playing in the MLS. He's had experience at other clubs, and he's been highly regarded at those clubs as well. So we'll see how it goes on. Gio is fast going down the ranks. The right flank will do great overlap, and Ross McCrory, I think, will be a good third choice. I think Ross McCrory will be a good choice for a number of different utility positions. McCrory will be used as a utility squad player, Baz is saying as well. Kevin Kelsey is a powerful number 9 capable of most type of goals. Yep, that's what I've been reading about him as well, mate. Good aerially, good technically, fast, strong. Yeah, the more I talk about this boy, the more I get excited. I think this one's going to happen, by the way. I hope I'm right. Scored against Porto in the Champions League, one of the youngest to score in it. Didn't know that, mate. I need to check that goal out. Watch my shelf. Jack was good info on the guy. At least his name's easy to spell when you're doing pages. Thank you. I know, mate, honestly. Some of the names recently have been absolutely mental. We paid $6 million for we paid $6 million for Jablonec because he scored 5 goals in 2 games against the Rapid Vienna. Water pushed the boat out. Nobody knew anything about Jablonec. Yeah, Terry. Some of these unknown quantities, they turn out to be the biggest surprise, don't they? MLS is a much bigger league than ours in years gone by. Hard to say the Scottish League is any better. I made this argument about the Polish League the other week there as well, Baz. Outside of the Old Firm, these teams have got better teams than Scotland has. But I will stand by this. I will say it again. We are levels above Jablonec. We should have beat them. Should and do, or should and will, are 2 very different things. We're going to get to this Jablonec in a minute as well, and I'm going to put my neck on the line for that one. No surprise. If there is fans out there that believe that Jablonec are levels above Rangers, fair dues, each to their own. I think that mentality is something that is probably been ingrained into people based on confidence over recent years rather than the reality. When you look at squad price, size of the club, European pedigree, fan base, or whatever attribute you want to throw at it, coefficients in Europe, whatever you want to use, for anybody who wants to piss all over me saying that Rangers were levels above Jablonec, by what measurement? Please do. Hindsight's a great thing. We didn't beat Jablonec. We should have fucking beat them. Right, one more. Dewberry. We've covered this guy before, Jack. Comes out the other day there. I've been on record before saying that we were still in for this guy, and it comes out the other day there. We've offered 7.5 million for him. We are being told that that Brighton want 10 million for him. For a guy who has only really showed what he's all about in League One with Bolton so far, is 10 million. I mean, it's the asking price. There's other clubs that are in for him. It's not as if we are the only ones, which doesn't help things. If that is the asking price, I don't want to go over old ground with Dewberry. We've spoken about him before, but is he the answer for the left and right wing backup that we've been looking for, Jack? Or are you? I know that there's more that we're talking to at the moment. Whether or not they'll move forward again, like that lad that's over in Poland that used to play with Daisuke. He's on a list. He's not the priority, but Tony Bloom's player, David's saying here, is that factoring into the equation as well? Possibly. Why would Tony Bloom want to do us any favours? But yeah, looks like Dewberry's high up on the list, mate, for 7.5 to 10 million. Are you looking? How does this one look to you, mate?
I don't have an issue signing that level or caliber of player. For me, though, I'd be more ideally wanting for a more experienced type player. Like, there's nothing wrong with signing that player, but you're paying a lot of money for a guy, as you said, who's had a good season at Bolton. And that's no disrespect to Bolton in League One or League Two. I'm not sure what League. I think it's League One, but it's just the fact that you're paying that money and you're wanting him to come here and be a difference maker. And that for me, it doesn't scream like he might very well in the future be a difference maker. But again, project players are okay when the team is doing well and you have a couple and you add them in, not when you're looking for someone to, go and unlock, defenses, and you pay that level of money. I mean, let's be honest. I can't remember the fee for Daisuke, but it wasn't anywhere near that.
4 million. Yeah.
So again, and is he going to come in and do dramatically more than him just now? He might have the higher ceiling, but again, that money's better spent elsewhere. I mean, I'm not going to be against it, and if it happens, but you're paying that level of money, and people are going to be expecting a return on that straight away.
Big risk.
Yeah, let's not bring him in and you just develop him. Yes, we want to develop him, but with that level of money, we're expecting goals, assists, and to change. Then you add in the pressure aspect compared to playing at Bolton. Again, and listen, if I'm totally wrong and he turns out to be fantastic, and we do sign him, great, I'll be happy. More than happy to be wrong on it, but it is a concern.
Good pedigree, the boy. He's been around England. He's been at Arsenal and stuff like that coming up as a youth. So I think Arsenal wanted to keep him as well. It's not as if they wanted. He opted to go elsewhere. It's a risk, very, very, very expensive risk if it doesn't pay off as well. There is talk that potentially a loan might be in the equation here as well, and Brighton might entertain that. Let's see how that transpires. The good thing about Dewberry for me is he's in my opinion anyway, he's a right winger, but he's not far off being equally competent over on the left wing as well. So from that perspective, does that mean that he can come in and cover that bridge between the left and the right? Maybe he's ahead of Gassama. Do we want to keep Gassama? I don't know. But it does look like Dell is going to persevere with Gassama, and if we see more of what we've seen at the weekend from Gassama, no one will complain about that. But we're a little bit educated on Gassama not to expect that move as being the outcome. So yeah, it's a lot of money for me. If it does go up to 10 million, I don't know. Don't know, mate. Don't know. We'll see, I suppose. But right, that's the only two rumours that are credible out there at the moment. There is a lot of other rumours, but we only cover the credible stuff on this channel. So I'm not going to touch on any other. Let's get to the Jablonec game, mate. Going to start first and foremost with the squad that we've got. Gio's saying here, I'd say Jablonec will be a harder game than what we've played. So this Jablonec squad, they are on paper. They are. I'm going by transfer market here because obviously I don't know much about Jablonec. They have not got a single player in their squad on transfer market that is over 1.5 million. The vast majority of their squad is in the hundreds of thousands, 250, 500k. I know it's the Czech league. That obviously diminishes their value in some cases, so it's hard to tell. I don't know enough about this team to say that, that who their standout players are, etc. I did have some insider information from some Jablonec fans who were part of my family for the last time. I'm not going to do this with Jablonec because I just don't know. But on paper, Jack, finishing fifth in the Czech league, don't really have a great European pedigree, squad size, squad value, support. But again, by any metric, Jablonec on paper should be a team that we are, again, levels above. Now, should be and will be on the night are two very different things. They're a decent team. They're no mugs, and I've said this before about Jablonec as well. But just in general, Jack, just based on how we've been performing recently in our European performances, our first game is at Ibrox. How are you feeling going into this match before we talk about the squads and stuff like that?
I'd be lying if I say I wasn't nervous. And really, realistically, that shouldn't be the case with who we're playing. But again, I am not. Yes, we had a great game at the weekend. We won and we scored 5 goals, etc. But I'm not convinced by this side yet. Not convinced by what starting lineup we're going to get, etc. So I'm kind of going. I think we'll win, is what I'll say. I don't think it's going to be a great margin. Personally, that's what I think. Again, love to be caught out, by that, and it's a great night, and I'm dead happy tomorrow. But the problem is, I also have is, like you said, they are 3 for 3 in the league, 3 wins. They've conceded 1 goal over those 3 games, and we've looked like conceding quite a lot of goals over our games. So I would want to be cautious. And I don't know a lot about them, right? But I have seen a lot of people also say that this is going to be a harder game, which surprises me because it is a lower, competition ranking. They seem to be finished 5th last year. But again, I don't know how many players were there last year that are still here this year. Do you know what I mean? I don't know enough about them as a squad. So, but if you said to me off the bat, I'd be going, yeah, we should be beating them. Just as in how we stand as a club. Yeah. Well, wait is a different question entirely.
Yeah, I mean, they've not really had they've had a good start to their season over in the Czech Republic, but in terms of finding European pedigree, it's not been easy to find any kind of standout performances in Europe from them. There was a couple, at least with Jablonec, you could point to a couple of times where they caused 20 some issues, they caused Fiorentina some issues. There was a couple of kind of standout performances over the course of a couple of seasons. Jablonec, Celta Vigo went quite far in the Conference League. I think it was the semis or the quarter-final. Jablonec, there's not really much out there on them in terms of what we can expect from a European perspective. We'll talk about the squads in a second. Just to Terry's point here, just tracking back. Yeah, Terry, that is odd. You're right, mate. Brighton are notorious for not telling clubs what they want. It's kind of like, how much are you willing to pay? That's the approach that Brighton take, and all of a sudden, we're now being told that there's a 10 million price tag on. Yeah, maybe you're right, Terry. Bloom, like I said earlier on, Bloom is not going to do us any favours, is he? Is Bloom at it here? It's a good call, mate. Gio, his stats are great. It's a lad in the Polish league. His team seems to be struggling to pay their players. Yeah, so the reports coming out of Poland, Gio, is that this club are basically feeding the press a lot of shite about who's actually making offers for this boy. I'm not even going to mention his name, but there's another guy that started this rumour on X as well, saying that he'd heard that this boy was coming, who has been on some Rangers pods recently. I don't know. We'll see. He's apparently on a list. We'd get him for about 3 million. The club are definitely struggling. They got relegated last year, didn't they? They are struggling financially. But again, I think that's why they're putting some of this stuff out into the press, so they can try and expedite more money for this boy. Let's see. We'll see. He does look a decent player, by the way. I'm not taking that away. Baz is saying Jablonec is second in the league at the moment. Won their first 3 games, David's saying here. Do they not have are they on a plastic pitch? Is that what you're talking about, Gio? I didn't know that, if that's the case. Maybe I'm getting that wrong there. It's mental down in England. Even clubs like Stoke, Gloucestershire play 10 million for players like it's nothing. The transfer market doesn't mean a thing. The fans get carried away with it. Yeah, I know, mate. Listen, the money down south is just it's crazy. I was on the WhatsApp channel the other day there when we were talking about this dude with the guy, and I was like, I like him. I'd quite have him at Rangers. I thought 5 million was a lot, and then when I hear 7.5 million and potentially 10 million, I'm like, this. Why do we persist, Jack? I want to get your opinion on this. Give me some logic as to why we persist in shopping down in that market, mate. It's ludicrous. The money is ridiculous, especially when you're up against if there's English opposition that's interested in a player, even though they might be in my opinion, a minnow compared to the size of Rangers. You take fan base, all this kind of stuff into it. We can't compete. I mean, what is this? Is this our recruitment team again, mate? That's just stuck in the rut, looking down to what they know best, which is down in England. Why are we not being a lot more expansive? We have been with the likes of Daisuke. McCann, do you know what I mean? Some of the other players who've been rumoured to Kelsey. Why are we looking down in the English leagues, mate? I just don't get it, man. Don't get it at all.
Do you know, I think obviously when you've got a massive pool of talent now, first of all, you know, there is plenty of talent down in England, and I'm not talking about, you know, the top level. I'm talking about, you know, in the lower leagues, etc. And, you know, it is tempting to do that, but, you know, like the money you have to pay to maybe even get, you know, you look at someone like, I think of like a Calvin Bassey, you know, Rangers struck gold with that, you know, and okay, but how many of them are you really going to pull out, you know, or how much money are you going to have to pay to get, you know, that kind of level of talent and player? And then the next thing is, how many of them are going to want to come? And that's just a fact, like, you know, because everyone wants to get to that Premier League, you know, or even if it's top end championship, etc., if they're down there. So I always think to myself, if they're coming from down there when they've got that biggest, essentially what people define the biggest or most, you know, attractive league in the world, then why are they going to come? I always think then, you know, that maybe they're not going to make it at that level. And it's like, you know, you've got players like, you look at the Scandinavian markets, you've seen the Asian markets, you know, you can even argue the MLS, by the looks of it just now, is going to produce, you know, more players that we will go, yeah, hi, that's a great player. And there's just a tax on it that we don't need to pay, essentially, because, you know, I just think it was like the English, you know, leagues tax from different players. So, yeah, I preferred when Koppen had that idea of, you know, branching out and diversifying quite a bit. And that is what it comes back to. The recruitment team is what they know, it's what they're comfortable with. But then you make the argument of going, well, where are we seeing these boys like Bacania and Daisuke, etc. as well? So you kind of got to look at that and go, there is kind of credit there. But when it's coming to like marquee players, look, why are we throwing that money at someone who, as I said, had a good season at Bolton? It baffles me.
Yeah, I mean, even taking the lad that played with Daisuke over in Poland as well, like, if he's 3 or 4 million and Duberry's 10 million, and their numbers are very similar, is there much difference between League One in England and the Polish league?
No.
Maybe a little bit, but
I'd expect the Polish league to, personally, I'd expect the top end Polish league to be better. But I expect Polish football, but I don't know.
Snobbery, Jack. Again, is that what we're seeing on display here when it comes to this kind of stuff?
Maybe, because I just think there's been plenty of players that Rangers have not taken a grasp of the situation and signed when they should have, you know, and that comes from our own league as well.
Yeah. I mean, I was sitting there watching Jablonec and thinking, I'd be in for a couple of these boys, by the way. Some of them were good players that I didn't expect to be the case. So, right, Jablonec, here's the squad that we've got so far, the latest. I do want to get your thoughts on this. Goalkeeper, Pandur, obviously, Liam Kelly, Mason Munn. Defenders, McCrory, Godfrey is back in. Good news. Again, optimistic that we'll see him in the second leg, probably not the first leg. Clinton Nsiala comes back in, which is an odd one, considering we've not seen him. Dujon Sterling, McCania, Fernandez, no surprises there. Midfielders, Dan Neil, Connor Barron, no idea what the hell is going on there. Fellow Asgard, Cammy Devlin, Lyle Cameron's not getting a sniff. Yakota Gasama, Dragoi, and Toshi Chikwane. By the way, we never mentioned Toshi. He had a great second half the other day there. And Nico Raskin, Ross McCausland as well. Forwards are strikers, Lawrence Shankland, Ryan Nadiri, Bojan Miovski. I mean, straight off the page there, Penrice has not been registered as of yet. We have until, I think it's about 9 o'clock tonight, 10 o'clock tonight, or something like that, maybe 11. So at some point tonight, we've got up until the end to register make 2 changes to that squad. You can only assume that Penrice will be coming in there. Whether or not Kosta has been registered, etc., in time for that, time will tell. But if you're making 2 changes there, I would imagine Penrice comes in and Nsiala goes out. the Kosta one becomes a bit more challenging. Is it McCausland? Is it McCrory that drops out? I would assume it's McCausland, but then that leaves you kind of short on the wings. With that squad, mate, are you optimistic? Let's assume Penrice comes in. You optimistic of getting something at Ibrox at least?
I don't know. I think we should. I go back to we should. It's just about what we're going to turn up like and how we're going to play. Just when I'm touching it, the stadium does hold under 6,000, and just for reference, that the Spaghetti holds 9,000 apparently. So there's a big difference in between Livingston Stadium and the team in Jablonec. But no, I don't know. I feel we will win it. I just don't know. If we play like we played the other day, then yes, because that was more encouraging. But, and I know you said about the argument about we created and forced that space, but that's what I'd be keen to see. How does that develop against a team who you would say or you'd expect to be a better opposition than St Mirren? So, we'll see where it goes. But you've got to take an opportunity, man. Like at home, you really have to.
Yeah. Yeah, David, thanks for confirming that. So just to reiterate what you said there, 6,000, small stadium, didn't know that. I hadn't checked their stadium out. This team is better than the Poles. Can't find much evidence of that, David. I'd say the Czech league is better than the Polish league. I don't know. I don't know. In terms of like European results, it's hard to tell. I don't think we were in a good place against the Poles. I think that we're night and day after that St Mirren result. Enciala will be the one that drops out. Baz is saying here. Gio's saying didn't understand to add Enciala and not add Penrice. He'll probably get added, mate. I think it's just a matter of timing on that. If Derek starts the same team he did on Sunday, we'll be fine. I hope so, Baz. And I tend to agree. I think that was a really strong performance on at the weekend there. Cameron is in. I think he can come out for Kosta Gio. Don't even try and get me to say that, mate. Can't trust their defence to keep a clean sheet. That is the big question, Big Phil. I agree. We didn't, regardless of what the performance was at the weekend there, we had some very nervy moments with big Manny and obviously conceded that goal as well. Yeah, let's see. But if we can put 5 past them, I'd be more than happy. Right, the game is tomorrow at 7:45 at Ibrox. For anybody that is travelling to the game, I do wish you all the best. Stay safe and have fun. I'm optimistic for this one. I think we're in a much better place. That result could be, I hope, and maybe I'm being optimistic here, but I think that result was much needed. That performance was much needed. And I think it could be a good turning point. We never even spoke about the formations, Jack. This Jablonec team are quite fluid. They tend to play with 3 at the back, but when they're coming up against what should be stronger opposition, they're probably going to play a 3-5-2. Or a 4-4-2. And when I say 3-5-2, it would be 5-5-3-2 in the defence, 3-5-2 in the attack. So they're probably going to come and set up shop at Ibrox, I assume. But they're known to be quite fluid with their formations. Dell, I was not a fan of going with the formation that Dell did at the weekend there. A lot of people have been calling for it, which I thought it was a 4-2-3-1. A lot of people were saying it was a 4-3-3. Either way, we certainly looked a lot better and a lot stronger in midfield. So I stand corrected. I still think 4-4-2 is the way that Dell wants to proceed, but he needs the right players to do that on the wings. We'll see how he sets up tomorrow. Have you got a team lineup in mind, Jack? And what's your predictions for the result, mate, before we head off?
I'm gonna go for. I think it could be. I'm gonna go 2-1. That's. I can see them scoring. I don't know. I just don't see us getting a clean sheet just because of how we've been. whether it be on a transition or not. Lineup wise, it would be Pandora, Sterling, Penrice if he's in there, which he should be. It will be McCania, Manny. I would pretty much be looking at the same lineup as Sunday. Toshi, etc. And that means essentially dropping Shankland again onto the bench. But
yeah,
I would definitely be doing the same. It looked more effective, so much more effective.
Yeah, don't disagree. I don't mean to just replicate what you've just said there. I'd go with the same team as the weekend, and I think most fans that have been commenting, most of the guys in the chat have been saying if we do what we did at the weekend, we should be fine. And that basically means go with the same team. Does Kosta come in at right back for you, or are you? I mean, does Kosta come in at right back because Sterling is playing quite a lot of games at the moment, and we need to be cautious there. If Kosta gets registered, I think that could be a change that might happen. Or maybe Sterling will play half the game and Kosta comes in, something like that. I don't know. Dale has been on record as saying that Sterling can't play 3 games in a row. So that was his exact words. So we will see how that position transpires. But Nadiri and Shanks is the only one up top that I would maybe have a question mark over. What's the better option there? I mean, obviously Nadiri is not the most clinical, but worked out okay at the weekend. There, we'll see. But what's your result for tomorrow night, mate?
It's 2-1 for me. That is 2-1. Aye. I'm just seeing Baz's comment. I love Baz's confidence around 4-1 tomorrow. But I would take it. I just don't see it happening. But yeah, it's definitely going to be Nadiri up front. Give or take, I can't see Shannon starting. Miovski just seems so far out of the picture, really, at the minute. So
yeah.
But I would I'd definitely go 2-1. I just can't see us keeping a clean sheet at the minute. That's my problem.
I agree. I don't think we'll keep a team sheet. 2-1, Big Phil saying here. Baz, I'm 100% with you, mate. I think it's going to be 3 or 4-1. And that's biting in the arse again. We are on in every metric available. If you want to look at it, we are levels above this team. I don't give a shit what happened against Jablonec. We should have beat them as well. And I am not going to be, each to their own, I am not going to be one of those fans that starts setting my expectations lower just because we've been playing shit. My expectation is we deal with a team like this quite handily. I'm going for 4-1 with Baz as well. Dave McMillan saying Miovski there. Yeah, it just looks like he's out of the picture, mate. I don't know. CJ's saying here, agrees, same team on Sunday will win. He's going for 3-0. Gio's going for 3-1. Don't understand the Miovski. 3-1 by David here. We dare to be slapped down, Baz is saying. I will take it on the chin like a man, Baz. This team has a habit of doing that to me, but I will not diminish my standards and expectations for this club. I think the minute we start doing that, is the minute that we're going down the wrong avenue. Right, everyone that has joined us today, thank you so much. Again, if you could give the channel a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed the content, that is. If you haven't, no worries. That is what it is. We try and earn your like and your subscription. So thank you very much for everyone that's contributed today. You make the show what it is. We do our best to engage with you. As I mentioned earlier on, if you want to become a member of the channel, please do so. All proceeds of that will go to Rangers Charity Foundation. Between now and the end of August, if you do become a member, we will put your names into a hat at the start of September, and you could win yourself a Rangers home top large men's size. Right, Jack, if you get anything else on your mind, mate, or you want to say your goodbyes to the
No, I would like a win tomorrow and a relatively stress-free Thursday night, please.
Yeah, David, cheers, mate. CJ, Gio, Baz, everyone else, Turnups, everyone that is tuned in. Again, I can't thank you enough for your contributions. You do to repeat myself, he's make the show what it is. It makes it so much more fun to engage with you guys. I'm going for a Rangers scalping tomorrow. Let's do it, Jack. Let's do it. That's my expectations, and I'm looking forward to it. The weekend has got me buzzing again, and it was much needed. So until next time, thank you again for everyone that has joined in. This is Bold and Blue 1872. Bye-bye.
We are gold and blue, born in 1872. The greatest team in the world, we are known. As we follow on, we are the people through and through. The gold and blue since 1872. With our hearts on fire, we rise to the call. Through the highs and lows, we'll never fall. Glasgow Rangers standing proud and true. Together we sing for the bold